going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark and this is 360 Finance. In today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about gold, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin specifically, the similarities between them as well as the differences, and then ultimately which one I think you should buy. As we've seen increased market turbulence over the past few months, a lot of people typically run into these or move their money into these safe haven type of assets. So in this video, I'm going to be describing you the similarities, differences, and which one I would ultimately be purchasing if I was an investor and looking to move my money into safe haven assets at this time. If you enjoy this type of content or you get value from these type of videos, please don't forget to like the video as well as subscribe to the channel for more type of investment and personal finance content. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, so the first thing is gold. Now, gold has been in circulation, for millenniums, for 2,000 plus years. It's been around for a very, very long time, so people are very familiar with it and understand what it is. It's also a physical object, so it's something that you can actually physically hold in your hand and trade with people. There's also a wide range of ways to get exposure to gold. You can buy gold, the actual precious metal itself. You can buy ETFs, which have gold within their holdings. You can look at buying gold mining companies directly, or you can just look at any other of the precious metals in that industry. Gold can also be used as an input in other goods. Probably the main one that people talk about is jewelry. So, if you want like a gold necklace, a gold ring, gold watch, something along those lines, it is used as an input in other goods. And generally, this is my personal opinion, but it's generally said to have a negative correlation with the market. So when you see kind of turbulence coming through the markets, like we saw at the start of this pandemic or that we're seeing now, a lot of people think that the market's a little overvalued. You see a lot of investors rush into these safe haven type assets. So that's kind of my opinion on gold. It's a safe haven asset, and you generally see it rise in price when investors are scared of what the future of the market holds. In contrast to gold, Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is a relatively new phenomenon. They've only been around for about a decade or so, and the first Bitcoin block was actually mined in January 2009. In contrast to gold being physical, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are entirely digital. It's not something you can feel. It is simply something that you can see on a computer monitor. There's also various ways to get exposure to cryptocurrencies. Obviously, Bitcoin is the one that everybody knows, but there's also Ethereum and various other currencies which you can buy. To be honest, I'm not entirely familiar with a ton of them. If I was to ever buy cryptocurrencies, I would probably just buy the biggest one, Bitcoin. Now, in contrast to having a negative correlation with the market, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general don't really have a correlation to any other asset class. There's not a lot of evidence that there's diversification benefits by owning these assets. So it's generally said that cryptos have a very low correlation with other asset classes. If we look at the similarities between the two, obviously they're both made from mining. So you think gold, all the miners going down their mine shafts and kind of picking into the precious rocks in hopes of finding that gold, or like panhandling through streams and things along those lines. Bitcoin, in contrast, is mined through supercomputers. I'm not super well versed on how that's done, but technically those are both forms of mining. Some people might disagree with me on the second point, but they're both considered safe haven assets. Gold for sure. Cryptocurrencies, maybe not everybody agrees with this just because of their high volatility. But I think, again, as we see a lot of market turbulence, people will rush into these safe haven type assets and in turn potentially crypto. Although I'm going to talk a little bit more about my opinion on crypto in the second half of this video. They're also both considered speculative assets. Like I said, gold, nobody really truly knows what gold trades based on or what the fundamentals of gold are. You generally see it go up when we're expecting market turbulence, and that's my personal opinion. But again, it's supposed to be a speculative asset, and so is crypto. Crypto is basically in its infancy. It's only been around for 10 years. Nobody really knows why its value will go up or down, but generally said, when you have a finite amount or a limited supply of both, if you have increased demand, it should increase over time. So this is advantageous in contrast to fiat currency, and fiat currency is money that the government prints, okay? And like we saw during this pandemic, central banks took on an abundance of debt, printed trillions and trillions of dollars and other currencies worldwide, and basically fiat has an unlimited supply, whereas both these assets have a limited supply. there's a finite amount of gold on this planet. Nobody knows actually how much there is, but there's not an infinite supply. And the same goes for cryptocurrencies. I know Bitcoin specifically, there's about 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be mined, and they're expected to be fully mined by the year 2140. Now the thing is, they basically both serve the same function, and that is the exact same function of fiat currency. There's three main functions, and they are a medium of exchange, a store of value, and a unit of account. Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, gold, as well as fiat currency all serve those main three functions. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is not gold. I would argue that Bitcoin is a little bit more of an ideological argument rather than a practical one. What do I mean by this? Essentially, cryptocurrencies are creating value without the traditional fiat stamp. If we look at gold, there's been, like I said, millenniums, thousands and thousands of years of fiat stamps throughout the years, okay? So you have emperors using it, you have kings using it, all the way up to the bankers of today. Not that the bankers are emperors and kings, but
maybe they are.
I would also say that Bitcoin has a little bit more speculative value in the short run, just because it's in its infancy. We don't actually know what its future holds, if it will become a dominant player in terms of the most widely used currency on the planet. And I think that's what Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are at their peak. If more people want to use it as a means of exchange, as a store of value, as a unit of account, there's a finite amount of it, so it'll no doubt go up in price. It's just a matter if people will adopt it and at which rate. It's a little bit of an economic experiment, if you ask me. Also, governments are a lot more sold on gold than they are in Bitcoin. For instance, if you look at registered investment accounts in Canada, say a TFSA or an RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan, you can't fund these accounts via cryptocurrencies. They need to be funded via fiat currency. Gold can also be quite a bit easier to get access to. All you need to do is basically set up an investment account, and you can buy, like I mentioned, directly through gold mining companies, ETFs, or you can actually buy the precious metal itself. There's a lot more that you need to do in order to get set up in order to own cryptocurrencies. Also, the fact that the government is more sold on gold, when push comes to shove, and if you potentially see dramatic investor losses, I believe that gold is much more likely to be backed by the government, and you'll likely be compensated if you lose a lot of money through it, okay? And that's exactly what we saw through this pandemic. The stock market crashed 30% in a matter of days. What did the governments do worldwide? They printed money and propped that market back up. So I kind of view gold more in that category than I do cryptocurrencies. You probably won't be compensated for a massive loss in cryptocurrency, where you might be compensated or indirectly compensated through the printing of money by owning the asset gold. Now the question of the day, which one should you ultimately buy? That's obviously up to you. It's up to you and your personal situation. How much income do you make? What's your investment time frame? What's your risk profile, and how much money are you willing to lose? History often rhymes, but it never repeats itself. A famous Mark Twain quote, I might have butchered a bit. It's actually, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So even though gold has kind of served as the purpose of a safe haven asset, it may not serve that purpose in the future. People might in turn move to cryptos instead. But at the end of the day, nobody actually knows the future of Bitcoin either. Like I said, you go back to Economics 101, when you have an inelastic supply and you have an increasing demand, it's just a matter of time before that asset increases in price. Now, both of these have limited or inelastic supplies, both of these assets, so if people are more willing to adopt these assets, then they will increase in price over time. I personally like gold better just due to the government preference. Like I said, if you see dramatic investor losses, yes, I'm speculating a bit here, but you're much more likely to be saved by the government, if you will, if that happens, like the stock market. You see a ton of quantitative easing, and that ultimately props up the stock market, as well as the price of gold. You can't really say the same for cryptocurrencies. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did get value from it, please don't forget to like the video as well as subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Young age, learn how to get paid. Big stage, long way from session A. Big wave, he gon' have to get saved.